Good morning. This is Bill Howatt. I'm going to continue my video blog on what I'm calling mental health and COVID-19. The purpose of this is to provide education and to facilitate a conversation and hopefully be a friendly face to help us take on a couple of different issues. And the format of this will mature as we start to do it. I'm on day 2. And last night when I was thinking about this, what will I talk about today? I've been paying attention to the news, and I'm watching the news a little bit like everyone else to stay informed and making sure that I'm looking at the right news, reading. And I was reading the Health Canada's website on COVID-19 last night, and I posted on LinkedIn. I want to make sure people are getting the right facts. As I was thinking about this, one thing that jumped to my mind is this concept. I go, as a practitioner who has seen people for nearly 30 years, a little bit more actually, so I'm dating myself, is that how much fear would be going on? And I want to have a conversation around fear and to kind of help normalize what fear is. Now, fear can be a good thing or fear can be a bad thing. And what I want you to kind of consider in my mind that fear has a lot of benefits. So there's a fear of which I'm going to talk about, which I call a positive fear. And let's think about that. For example, how could fear be positive? So let's, for example, imagine you were late for work. And you were late for work one day and you were a few minutes behind and you tried to get there and all of a sudden you're thinking to yourself, wow, I was late for work. What's that mean? And then you start thinking about, oh my God, if I do it again, I could lose my job. And then your boss talks to you and said, oh, well, you were late for work. And so that fear of not wanting to lose your job could be a positive motivator to ensure that you get up and make sure you're more organized and get moving. So fear doesn't always have to be a negative, because fear actually helps us avoid things that we don't want to happen in our life. So fear can be a really positive motivator. If you're in a relationship and you kind of did something wrong, you apologized and you were scared about losing your relationship and you kind of improved. The thing with that type of positive fear is you kind of know what the solution is. You know what to do. You know what you can do, or you can start to learn how to actually problem solve for that. So you can start thinking about, well, you might have had a life challenge in a relationship, for example, but you're motivated and you're fearful of losing it. So you might go to counseling, or you might talk to a friend, or you and your friend learn how to have authentic conversations to improve that. So it's within inside your control. Now, with this pandemic, most of us have never ever experienced something like this. Like all of a sudden, 3 weeks ago, we were watching this thinking, well, probably not a big deal. It's happening in the other part of the world, like many things that are happening on the other part of the world. Now it's starting to come on our shores. And now what's happening is they're starting to use words like social distancing. Many of us may never even know what that means. And now we're talking about social isolation. And the ramifications, is it a day? Is it a week? Is it 2 weeks? How long will this drag on? And depending on the news, that's why it's important not to be, paying attention just to all news. Getting the facts is really important, so you don't actually take ideas and start becoming fearful about unknown factors that are outside your control. So one of the big things is starting to pay attention to where we can actually have some impact around fear, is to actually understand that unknown fear can lead to anxiety. And so when I think about the word fear, F for me, when I start thinking about fear, is that it can start to create focus. So I'll start focusing on this issue. So I'm start focusing on, okay, what happens with my job? What happens to my life? What happens here? What happens there? And that focus, as we start to focus on it, the next thing that can start to draw a lot of our energy. So now we're all the energy starts to come. And then with that energy, with that hyper focus on something that we don't know what to do, that can increase our anxiety. And with the R, what happens, we just kind of repeat. We're repeating that. And so that fear can start to manifest itself, and we can become overwhelming, which is very normal, because our brain is meant for fight or flight, to try to protect. It's a protective instinct. But what's happening is our physiology and our mind are trying to figure out what to do, and that can start to amp us up. And perhaps one of the biggest reasons for mental health issues and anxiety especially is around how people deal with fear. So as the news starts changing and the situation starts changing, for some of us, if we're not mindful of that unknown fear, it could become very overwhelming for us. So one of the things I'd like you to consider as we start to talk about this is, one thing is to really start to be very clear. It's okay to be somewhat fearful. It's okay to say, hey, you know what, I don't feel really comfortable right now. I'm a little bit nervous about where things are going. I'm not quite sure, but name what that is. And once we name what we have as fear, we can start to say to yourself, okay, so what's in my control? what can I actually control? Where can I put my energy? What can I do? What can I do to support? And what can I do to help people? If we name the fear and we start thinking about what we can do and we can't come up with solutions, then we start talking about it and start using our social connections and start talking to people to start normalizing it's okay. We don't have to keep it all harbored in. And we also need to be careful to start getting into some less effective behaviors to start coping with fear. Like if there's around the house and there's a little bit more wine or a little bit more alcohol or a little bit more cannabis, trying to use things to try to create symptom relief, that's when you kind of know that things are starting to run. And with inside this social isolation, to manage your fear, a routine is really helpful by keeping structure, getting up, having your shower every day at the same time, following your structure, being mindful, writing down, journaling how your emotions are, tracking how things are. And we'll probably, as we go through this, we'll be spending time talking about other different mental health conversations and strategies and ideas. But today, what I really want to kind of bringing out there for you to think about is that fear is normal. And my sense is as this starts to evolve, there's going to be more conversations and there's going to be more unknown. And so we have things that are unknown, and this may not solve itself in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It may. But with it is for us to be mindful that we can control what we can focus on that's inside our control. The unknown right now, there's so much unknown that it's probably those are the things that can start to get our mind ramping and running. So I'd like you to think about what you can do to ensure that you're paying attention to what's in your control. And if you do start to feel fearful, it's okay. Name it, acknowledge it, own it, and then be willing to start to talk about it. And together, when we start to share and realize we don't have to be super people and it's okay to have concerns, that's where I'd like you to start with. That's why you talk to your friends, talk to your peers, talk about this. Let's not hallucinate, let's not guess. Let's just connect with each other on this. So that's my thought for today. I'm going to keep puttering away and being here to support. If you have ideas, let us know. And please understand, again, this is not meant ever to replace any psychological help. It's just me trying to have a conversation with you to give you a few ideas that I'm thinking about. Hopefully you get one or two nuggets each time I talk. Have a good day. I'll be thinking about you.